When it comes to Halloween, I'm not a fan of scary movies. We typically don't decorate outside, and more often than not, my husband has marching band on Halloween night, so I just put a basket of candy on the front porch while I take my own kids trick or treating. But when it comes to Halloween in the elementary music classroom, there are so many fun songs, activities, and lessons that it's probably my favorite time of the year. And one of my all time favorite songs to teach is In the Hall of the Mountain King by Edvard Grieg. Hi, if we haven't met yet, my name is Erin and I am a K-5 elementary music teacher in Northern Indiana, and I'm also the teacher author behind From Do Re Mi to You. And in this video, I want to show you how I take this orchestral piece in the Hall of the Mountain King and bring it to life through movement, singing, and also teaching tempo, specifically accelerando, and presenting half notes. So without further ado, let's get started. Usually when I introduce a new rhythm or solfege concept, I use a folk song. But In the Hall of the Mountain King is an orchestral piece that doesn't have lyrics to it. So how I teach the song has to be different. So in the very beginning, I have the students listen to the music. It's pretty short, just a couple minutes long. But instead of just telling the students, hey, listen to this song, I want them to actively listen through a process called squilt, super quiet, uninterrupted listening time. So before they listen, I might ask them some leading questions, particularly what do you hear in the tempo? What instruments do you hear? How does the music change? If you were to close your eyes and imagine a cartoon or a movie happening, what would you see? That way, when they go to listen to the song, they're actively listening and they know what to listen for. And then afterwards, I might ask them those questions again. And the conversations are really interesting because they will probably pick out the fact that the song did get faster. It sounded kind of spooky because it was in a minor key. And usually every year, I have a couple students who say, it sounds like a chase, which is what the story is about. Now, before I tell them the story of Peer Gynt, I do take a moment to introduce Edvard Grieg, the composer of In the Hall of the Mountain King, because he is, to this day, one of Norway's most famous composers. But after that, I want to tell them the story of In the Hall of the Mountain King. The hard thing is, like folk songs, there are many versions of the story. Some a little bit more gruesome and some a little bit more kid appropriate. But I wanted to find a happy medium. I have told many versions of the story, but I decided to write my own, and not only write my own version of the story, but make it an active listening and singing version. So let me tell you how my story goes. Now, I'm not going to take the time to read the entire story that I wrote, but I am going to put a few slides up here. So what I wanted to do was create a version of the story to where I am narrating the story, but the students respond in song, specifically singing the melody of In the Hall of the Mountain King, but with lyrics that I wrote to summarize what's happening in the story. So for example, I would say, sad and alone, Pierre ran off into the forest. He found a dark cave hidden among the rocks. Pierre didn't know it was the home of the Mountain King. And then the students would sing, mountains loom and cave grows dark. Should I dare step inside? Creeping in with quiet steps and chills I cannot hide. Curious, Pierre tiptoed inside. The cave was quiet, too quiet. Tiptoe through the rocky hall, creeping slow down below. Shadows dancing on the stone, well, should I stay or go? What I love about this is that the kids get to be a part of the story. They know the melody now. They're practicing that half note without even realizing the new rhythm yet. So once we tell the story, I usually have them watch a video because again, there are many versions of this story. Now, hands down, my favorite video version is the 1960s Mellowtune cartoon version. It's so old school. The trolls are so creepy looking, but creepy in a funny way to where your kids are gonna laugh and not be traumatized, hopefully. But that's the one I typically show my students. Now, the next time that I see my students, I want them to listen to the music again. But instead of doing a squilt active music listening activity, I want them to feel the music, specifically the tempo. There are two different movement activities that I have used in the past. One of them is a modified version of head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Essentially, they just keep the steady beat like this. Head and shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes, knees and toes. Head and shoulders, knees and toes, and eyes and ears and mouth, nose. It's really simple to teach, and the kids pick up on it right away. But as the song progresses and it gets faster and faster and faster, you're going to find that kids get tired and they start to lose control. So I do tell students that once it becomes too fast, just work in keeping the steady beat, even if they don't bend all the way. Do the best they can. Because if I did it full 100%, I would probably throw out my back. Now, the other version is doing the sevens activity. And if you've never done sevens to a song before, I'm going to demonstrate really quick. So I figured this would be easier to teach you or to show you while sitting on the floor. Just ignore the mess behind me. Either way, in this game of sevens, there are 4 different levels, and you do each one twice before you move on. So level 1 is just padding 7 times and then resting on beat 8, which means this really helps prepare the half note because they'll feel that long note at the end. But it looks like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or with the music, bum 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 bum. Then you move on to level 2. Level 2 is just patting and clapping, but you're going to end on a pat and you're going to start on a pat like this. Bum 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 bum. Then you move on to level 3, which has a snap in it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So again, starting and ending on that pat with a rest on beat 8. Bum 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 bum. Then level 4 is kind of challenging. You're gonna go pat, cross, pat, clap, snap, clap, pat. Or bum 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 bum. From there, once you do level 4 twice, then you go back into level 3 again, and then level 2 again, and then level 1. And again, you do each one 2 times before moving on. Now, what I like about this activity is that it helps to show the half note as well as the tempo. But I will say, if you have not taught the sevens game before to your students, this is kind of challenging. And if you're trying to do this with second graders like I have, you're going to have some kids that struggle to pick up on it right away, unless they have some prior background experience with the game, or you did this with older students who can pick up on the patterns a little bit faster. Now, once you have done one of those activities, this is a good time to review tempo, which I always define as how fast or slow our music is. And if you've taught tempo and specific tempo terms before, you can have them review some of those previous terms. But I do want to point out to them that as Pierre gets in trouble and runs from the trolls, the music gets faster and faster, but gradually. And we call that accelerando. And I always point out to the students that accelerando looks like the word accelerate. They begin with the same 5 letters. And even though I do this activity specifically with my second graders, I do want them to start noticing those prefixes. Now on day 3, it is time to practice our new song and learn our new concept. So I always have them start with a steady beat. And we're going to go back to that very first verse that they sang. Mountains loom and cave grows dark. Should I dare step inside? Creeping in with quiet steps and chills I cannot hide. And at first, I showed the steady beat using trolls, and then later we can transfer that to hearts. So they recognize that steady beat is the heartbeat of the music. But then I want to transition into rhythm. And we talk about how the rhythm are the long and short sounds, and that some of our beats have more than one sound in them. So I'll have them go line by line and figure out which beats have two syllables, which beat has one syllable. But when we get to the end, the word hide is long. Instead of being one syllable or two syllables, it's one syllable, but it lasts two beats. Now, I marked this originally with a tie because personally for me, I do introduce ties kind of as a precursor to half notes. So once we've figured out the iconic notation referring to the number of syllables, then I'm going to transfer it to rhythm with our ta and tati, or ta, tt, do, day, whatever system that you use. But when we get to the trills at the end that are tied together, I tell my students that ties are like a musical plus sign. If I have one trill and one trill tied together, 1 + 1 is 2. So our last sound is one sound that lasts 2 full beats, or a half note. And again, I recognize that you all teach using different rhythm syllable systems, whether it is Kodai or Takadimi or Gordon. So in my slide deck, I have all the different versions that you may use in your classroom, and you can just delete the extra slides. But now we can take our newfound rhythm and add it back in to our music. And I'll have them clap the rhythm. Ta-di, 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 ta, ta-di, ta, ta-di, ta, ta-di, 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 two. And personally, when it comes to clapping two, I either have them clap and move, or I've also done clap, slide. Either way works. But now they've learned a new rhythm, half note. Now, typically when I teach a new rhythm or solfege concept, I use this as an opportunity to also practice that new concept on the xylophones and put together a little accompaniment piece. But this song is not xylophone friendly at all because it's not a folk song, it's an orchestral piece. So instead of doing something on the xylophones, I am forever grateful for the music teachers that are able to create video play-alongs for boommakers and non-pitch percussions. So in my slides, I've linked 3 of my favorite play-along videos. 2 are from Musication. There's a boommaker one and a non-pitch percussion one. Both are super well done. And if you like the vertical Guitar Hero style of boommaker play-alongs, the Mr. G channel has one as well. Now, once you have taught half note, the learning has just begun. Now it's time to practice and review and practice and review. So here are 3 ways that I like to keep the practicing going. Number 1 are flashcards. Typically, I do a quick rhythm review with my students once a week. I see my students twice a week. And more often than not, it's a play-along video from YouTube or a music play online. But when I have a brand new concept, I want to have more control over how quickly we go through the rhythms. So I have a series of 10 digital rhythm flashcards where I can put on some Halloween music in the background and we can go through those rhythms together. Secondly, you can also use worksheets. Now, I don't do a ton of paperwork in my classroom, but if you have a day where you are doing centers or a day where you have a sub, worksheets can be a really good way for them to continue practicing skills and also assessing their knowledge. So you can choose from one of the 5 worksheets that I have for In the Hall of the Mountain King. And last but not least is a relay race that my kids absolutely love. And let me explain how this goes. In the Escape the Troll game, this is a relay race, and you can have between 2, 3, or 4 teams, depending on how many students you have in your class. I typically do 4 teams with my class sizes. But what you'll do is you'll set up lanes in your classroom, usually with long pieces of masking tape. And then at the end of each lane, you have a set of 10 flashcards laid out. What students will do is that they will take one student, put them at the front of the line, and then you will call or clap a rhythm. Once they hear that rhythm, they race down to the end of the lane and they look at their cards and they have to find the card that you clapped and be the first one to bring it back. Now, there are many ways that you can keep track of score. You can do all or nothing, first team gets a point. You can do first team gets 2 points, second place team gets 1 point. It doesn't matter. It's all about the review. But you can keep control over how you do points depending on how many students you have and how much time you have. But I do have a slide that is a scoreboard where you have a little marker that a student can drag from point to point if you want to do it. And this is a game that is so fun and a really good review any time of year, but perfect for Halloween. So I hope this lesson was helpful to you about how to bring In the Hall of the Mountain King to life while also teaching squilt, tempo, and accelerando, and presenting half notes. If you want all of the slides done for you and the worksheets and everything else, I have everything linked down below. And make sure you hit like and subscribe so you get notified when the next video comes out. And as always, happy musicking. Bye guys.